Now it's time to start advertising on Facebook. So you come to your personal account, and right down here at the bottom you have this tab here which says create. In the past we have created pages, groups and events, but today we are going to go ahead and create a Facebook ad. So let's click this, and it's setting up our Facebook account for the first time. Now the first page that you are faced with, once you set up your account, is this page, and Facebook is essentially asking us, what is the objective of your advertising? Everything starts from defining your advertising objective. So the Facebook advertising is structured in 3 layers. One is the objective, which is where we are at right now, and you can see that this is colored in blue, so this shows you the first step. After that, you would come to the second step, and you'll actually create your account only once. So I'm going to skip this because this is done just once, but in the future, once you've created your advert account and linked your credit card, etc., you would move from a campaign objective to an ad set, and I'll be explaining what an ad set means, to creating your ads. So it's a 3-step process, and in the first step, Facebook saying, what is the objective behind your entire campaign? What are you trying to achieve? And it gives you 3 buckets of choices. The first bucket is creating awareness for your brand. Consideration basically means getting people to consider your brand and carry out an action. And conversion means it's a more evolved form of a consideration or carry out an action where you're getting people to do exactly what you want them to do. And let's look at these 3 buckets with an example. So I'm going to go here, and let's assume that all these people are the entire Facebook universe. Facebook has a lot of data points on each of us as Facebook users, and it's believed that they have up to 160 data points, or maybe even more now, and they use the data points to figure out how we behave on Facebook and off it. So whether you're on Facebook or you're doing any other kind of non-Facebook surfing, Facebook knows a great deal about the kind of online habits you have, and basis that, it slots you into 3 large buckets. One is this group here. These are people who engage with brands by liking, clicking, sharing posts, but they don't do anything much beyond that. Then there's a group of people who click on ads which are created by advertisers like you and me and land up on the advertiser's landing page or website. And then there is this other third group of people who not only do that, but are also most likely to sign up for your newsletter, most likely to register for a webinar, and most likely to even buy your product. So the 3 types of people, and Facebook places a premium on each of them differently. So Facebook knows, for example, that your return on investment is the highest with the third group, people who are most likely to perform an action like buying, registering for a webinar, signing up for your newsletter. So that group of people is the most expensive in terms of buying traffic. Then you have people who will click your ad and come to your site. And they come to your site to maybe read a blog post. They come to your site to consume information, but on your site they don't perform any action. So they're slightly less expensive as compared to the first group, the group of people who convert. And finally, on the extreme left are people who only want to remain on the Facebook site platform. They will typically not click and go off the Facebook platform, and therefore they are the least expensive in terms of engaging with them. So you've got to keep in mind that when you go to advertise on Facebook, you're actually dealing with 3 buckets of people, and you decide which bucket of people you want to interact with basis your marketing objective. So social media marketing, and you can see this little descriptor here that I've placed, that typically, when people say we do social media marketing, this is when large companies like Coke, Pepsi, Microsoft, Nike, they keep a part of their budget, their marketing budget, apart from television and radio, they keep a part of the marketing budget to engage with their same fans on Facebook. Brands like Coke, Pepsi don't sell from their website, right? And therefore they don't engage with the second group of people and take them to their site, or to the third group of people and take them to their site to convert, because there's nothing to convert to, there's nothing to buy from their website. They engage with this group of people in terms of interacting with them, getting them to like, click and share their ads or some information that they want to share with their fans. Their aim is to continuously be top of mind with their fan base, so that when a person goes to a store and is deciding between a Pepsi or a Coke, they tend to they would prefer to choose a Coke if they have been if Coke has been engaging with them via social media marketing. So mass market brands typically work in this space, and that's why it's called social media marketing. Whereas smaller solopreneurs who are trying to sell from their websites engage in direct response marketing, where the aim is to talk to this group of people who are most likely to perform a high value action on this site, like buying something or registering for a webinar or signing up for a newsletter, signing up for an email series, etc. So you got to keep the two in, the two are quite separate, they're quite different. And as solopreneurs, we fall in this third bucket here, or in this second and third bucket, not in this area. Because there is no return on investment if you just continuously keep spending marketing dollars to engage with fans on your page. Okay. Now that said, with this as a background, let's go back to this page, where we are setting up our campaign objective, and let's look at each of these tabs one by one. How do they open up? What does it mean? What does each objective mean? So when you come to awareness and brand reach are talking about this group of people, engagement here. So when you click brand awareness, it says that in this campaign objective, you're reaching people who are most likely to pay attention to your ads. Now remember, they're talking about paying attention. They're not talking about doing anything after that. So you've got to be very clear that when you create a campaign for brand awareness, it will be less expensive than campaigns on conversion, but it may only increase your brand awareness and nothing beyond that. And if that's important for you, then by all means go ahead and create a campaign objective around brand awareness. The next is reach. And in reach, you show your advert to a maximum number of people, but nothing beyond that. And I'm really skipping these two because for us as solopreneurs, I would not recommend either of them. Now, out of all of them, the two most important ones are traffic and conversions. You can actually ignore all the others. And when you are starting out in Facebook advertising, I would recommend stating that your marketing objective is traffic. What does traffic mean? Sending more people to a destination of Facebook. That is the objective of traffic. What you're doing is you're getting Facebook traffic which is most aligned with your brand or with your product and sending them to your site. Typically, when you are a small brand owner or a small marketer, it's very difficult to get traffic directly or organically to your site, right? Your target audience is not aware of your product. But if they're on Facebook and if you advertise smartly, you can take them from Facebook to your website. So that's what traffic is about. And engagement is quite a bit. Engagement here is quite a bit like brand awareness and reach. And this is a recent thing. This used to be here earlier. Video views. I'm skipping this one. I'm skipping app installs because we are not in the space of creating apps. Video views is basically getting people to see your videos, promoting your videos. So if you have videos about your brand, your product, your service, then you could create an ad where people get to see your video. This is a double-edged sword because at one level, videos work like gangbusters. Facebook promotes them well, but you need to have very high quality, high production value videos to place them on Facebook and to get people to really sit up and take notice. Lead generation is another form of advertising where the person does not get off the Facebook platform. And this would work well if you're in a business where you want a few high ticket leads to an expensive product or service. In this form of advertising. When a person sees the ad, he clicks a button, gives Facebook permission to send the email that the person has used to set up the Facebook account, send that email to the advertiser. The advertiser uses that email address to get in touch with the prospect. So it's a friction-free form of advertising where the lead does not move away from the Facebook platform and yet puts his hand up to say, I'm interested in your product, get in touch with me. This is quite different from traffic, where you create an ad to move the prospect from the Facebook platform to your site. I prefer traffic over leads because when you move a person from the Facebook platform to your site, you have much greater control over what you can do with that person. You can get them to sign up for a webinar, to sign up for a newsletter, to sign up for an email series, etc. And none of this can be done if you use lead generation. Let's go back and now let's look at possibly the most important marketing objective and the one that intermediate to advanced Facebook advertisers use almost exclusively, which is conversions. So conversions means the objective here is to get people to take valuable action on your website. Look, the point is that if you're spending money on your website advertising, if you're spending money on Facebook advertising, you want the prospect to take action so that you have a strong ROI as quickly as possible. And if I was to take myself as an example, I want people to come to my site, register for my webinar so that I can communicate, give them high value information in the webinar and then upsell a course to them later. And therefore that is better done through conversions than through traffic. So what's the difference really between the two? The difference is that if you state that your marketing objective is conversions, Facebook is going to get you traffic from this group of people. People most likely to carry out a conversion on your site. And if you say that your objective is to get traffic to your site, Facebook is going to get you people from this group of people who will come to your site, may consume content, but then may not do anything on your site in terms of clicking or signing up or registering, etc. Now, as you've noticed that the cost for both of them is different, and that's true. Conversions, the cost of conversion will always be higher than the cost of getting traffic, and the cost of getting traffic will always be higher than the cost of increasing your brand awareness. But if you have a very strong funnel where you are streaming in or getting in leads into the top end of your funnel and converting into sales, the return on investment on even leads which are expensive can be pretty high. I would rather have a lead which is coming to me at, let's say, about 15 rupees a lead, which I know will convert, rather than leads from this bucket which are at 4 rupees a lead, which probably will convert much lesser. In the absolute sense, rather than looking at cost per lead, you've got to look at the cost per conversion. So for example, if I get 100 leads and I'm using traffic as my advertising objective, and if I get 100 leads and my cost per lead is 4, then I've spent $400 to get those 100 leads. And if the cost here is 15 rupees, and again I've got 100 leads here, my cost is 1500. So you might say, let me spend 400 rupees to get 100 leads here rather than 1500 rupees here. But that's not the way to look at it. You want to see out of these 100 people, how many will actually convert into a sale. Because if these people are not the kind of people to take action on your site, chances are that out of the 100 people, maybe one or two persons will actually carry out an action. And therefore your cost per sale rather than your cost per lead, your cost per sale could be very high. Whereas in conversion, what happens is, because these people are normally the kind of people who will take action on your site, you will find more and more of them taking action and buying your end product. So your cost per sale will always be lower in conversions than the cost per sale when you buy leads through traffic. So don't be swayed by just the absolute cost per lead. Look at the cost per sale between the two of them. And if you were to read up on the net, you will find that almost all intermediate and advanced Facebook marketers swear by conversions. Now, we will not look at product sales and store visits because these are quite misleading in my book of advertising. What they're saying is, let's create an ad which will take the person to your store to buy a product. And we have seen in the previous class that when you get cold traffic from Facebook, they may come to your store, but they will not buy because they don't know, trust, or like you yet. So there's no point doing advertising where you are spending money to get people to your store. It's cold traffic and they sort of just bounce off. You need to, as we saw in the last class, you need to nurture them. You need to spend a couple of weeks nurturing the lead before you take them to your site for a sale. So what's happening here in this example, in store visits and product catalog sales, Facebook is saying, let's create an ad and take the lead directly to the website. Please don't do this. You need to have a marketing funnel first before you do Facebook advertising, and therefore ignore these two objectives. I would recommend start off with traffic first. Setting up your traffic marketing campaign is a little simpler than setting up your conversion campaign. Don't be intimidated by conversion campaign. It just requires that you understand what is a Facebook pixel and installing a Facebook pixel on your website. But we'll come to that in a subsequent class. I'm going to drill down and create a campaign around the objective of traffic, getting people to my site. So let me click this. And now let's look at sending more people to a destination on or off Facebook. That's what I want to do. I want to buy traffic from Facebook and send them to my website. So step one is, let's go ahead and name this. So let's call it, and you can give it frankly any name. You can go back and change this name any number of times you want. So let's say this is traffic test campaign. All right. Now you will set up your advert account just once, like I mentioned earlier, when you advertise for the first time. And you need to just set this up. So go ahead and let's set it up very quickly. All this is done. Show advanced options. You could fill this up or just ignore it, doesn't really matter. And click continue. Now you'll see what you've done is you've gone from objective, you've created your ad account, which we did in just a couple of seconds. And you've come to a very important part of creating your ad campaign, which is the ad set. Let's go through the ad set step by step, and you'll see why this is important and what this section does in developing the whole campaign. So I'm going to first set up a name for it. Again, we can go back and change this later. And the name we are setting up is test ad set. All right. Choose where you want to drive traffic. We want to drive it to our website. That's fine. Ignore this. Now you come to defining who's the audience for your, or what kind of audience do you want to send to your website. So Facebook has, at any point of time, every month, 2 billion people come to Facebook, to spend time on it. And it's now asking you, of the 2 billion people, who do you want to send to your website? This is really where the Facebook magic starts to happen. Ignore custom audiences. That's something for a future class. And we will start everything from here, which is locations. Now let's click this, and remember that you must always go to people who live in this location rather than everyone in this location, because people who are traveling through a location will also get counted here. But typically what you want are people who live in a location. So I'm going to change that, and now come to this block here. Let's remove United States and start from basics. As you can see here, you can type in countries, states, cities, even postal codes, addresses. So you can go as large in, you can do advertising at a countrywide level, at a statewide level, and right down to your neighborhood store. And let me just show you examples of that. So let's assume that I'd said that I want to advertise to people in India. All right, so let's click this. And as I, keep making changes here, keep a lookout for my potential reach. Facebook is saying that if you choose all of India, you're going to reach this audience, okay, which is 204 million people. And that's way too large. And with our budgets, it's way too large to advertise. Typically, you want an audience of about 100,000 to 200,000 people for your campaign. So I'm going to knock this off and say this is too large. Let me assume, for the purposes of this example, that I want to advertise in New Delhi. And you can scale and say whether you want to advertise only in the current city or with a city with a particular radius. So if you wanted to advertise in NCR, you can see here that it's already taken the NCR region, Greater Noida, Ghaziabad, Faridabad, etc. So this looks pretty good to me. And let's assume I want to advertise in Bangalore. So I've taken two cities as an example, and I can see that my potential reaches has dropped from 204 million to 30 million, which is still, while it has dropped substantially, it is still very large. But we are beginning to start narrowing it down. So this is when you do it at a citywide level. You could also just type in the address of your sector or district that you live in, and more often than not, Facebook will allow you to just advertise to people within 1 square kilometer. Scroll down, and now here we are going to continue narrowing it down from 30 million people, and we're going to say that, for example, for our product, let me assume that I'm advertising for people who are searching for jobs. Okay, since I have a course on job search, let's assume that I've created a course on job search, and I want to target people who are most likely to be in the job market. So therefore, in terms of age, I'm going to be looking at people who are, let's say, about 23 to about 35. This is the group of young professionals, and I'm saying men and women right now. Choose English, and you'll see that this number will keep dropping. It's dropped from 20 million to 14 million. Once you've filled up this section, it's time to get into some detailed targeting, because remember, right now your potential reach is still very high. So I'm going to say that I want to speak to people, for example, who have, remember I'm talking about a product for job search. So people who have a certain educational pedigree. All right. So let's say the educational level should be that they should have done at least a professional degree. But that number is too small. That means that very few people are mentioning that they have a professional degree in their Facebook profile. Let's go back up here. Let's go back here, back to educational level. And I'm going to say, what does this look like? This is also too small. Let's go back here. All right. So I'm going to say that what I want to do is speak to people who live in these two cities, are in this age bracket, and have the highest education level is that they are at university, which means that they haven't done a post-graduation. And there are 160,000 people like that. And I'm going to make an assumption that they would like to buy a course on job search. So therefore, we have started narrowing the audience. Now you could go further and exclude people from this 160,000. So let me click exclude. I've done that. And let me exclude people who, let's say, don't like finance. So 160,000 has dropped to 83,000 people. So now you're speaking to a group of people whose highest educational qualification is that they were at university. And these are people who have, you're excluding people who have shown an interest in finance. You're talking to non-finance people. Now, this may not make sense right now, but as you begin to play around with these filters, you can create a specific criteria of what kind of people you want to talk to. The aim here is to say, to show you start by first creating your geographies in terms of the targeting, age, gender, language is obviously always English. Then you do some detailed targeting in terms of what kind of people do you want to include, and then what kind of people do you want to exclude, and you keep narrowing this down until it reaches about 100,000 people. Once you do that and you're happy that you've got your detailed targeting in place, by looking at demographics and various kinds of interests and other filters, you come here, ignore this ad connection type, etc. You could save this audience. So if I click this, I could save this audience that I'm creating for a future use. I'm not doing that right now. And then you come to placements. Now placements is where you need to be very clear of what you're doing. Please do not go in for automatic placements which Facebook recommends. When Facebook recommends automatic placement, it will take your ad and place it in the Facebook audience network, which is real estates like other websites and mobile apps which are outside Facebook. The background to this is that over the last couple of years, Facebook is fast running out of real estate to show ads of advertisers to their audience on Facebook. And therefore, they have tied up with lots of other non-Facebook related websites where they show your ad. So it's websites and mobile apps. So exclude automatic placement, come to edit placement. And now what I'm going to do is, you can keep this, keep all devices recommended, although you'll find that 95% of your ads in India, if your audience is in India, will see your ad on a mobile only. But keep it as all devices which they're recommending. Go to audience network and delete this. Okay, you're going to remove this. We don't want our ad to appear in the audience network. Even though it drastically reduces your cost, the fact is the quality of leads from the audience network is very suspect. Remove Instagram because Instagram increases the cost of your advertising. Come to Facebook. Remove right-hand column, instant articles. You only want your ads to appear in the feeds. Okay, you only want it to appear in the news feed, mobile news feed and desktop news feed of your targeted audience. So once I've done that, you can go to advanced options here and say that do you want it to appear, your ad to appear on Android devices only, iOS devices. This is a smart move if you're selling a very expensive product. And here the underlying hypothesis is that if you advertise to people who are only on iPhones, the assumption is that they have bought an expensive phone and therefore they will be able to purchase expensive products. Now this is actually a flawed argument because many Android phones today are also pretty expensive. The phones which are released by Samsung, by Sony and a couple of others. So I would just leave it to all mobile devices. Scroll down. Do not click this, just leave this as it is. And now you come to setting up your budget and your schedule. You could set up a daily budget or a lifetime budget. And what I would do is set up a daily budget because it helps me understand how much I'm spending per day. Change this and you could type in whatever budget you want to spend. Now, in terms of schedule, please remember to click the second radio button. Set a start date and end date. If you don't, and if you just go ahead with the default run my advert continuously, and if you forget that you have an ad running, at the end of a month, you could get a pretty large bill from Facebook. So set a start date, right, which starts, let's say today, and let's assume it ends, it starts today and ends, this is August, so I'm just going to go back, and ends 2 days from now. So my advert will run for 2 days and I will spend no more than $200. Perfect. Now remember to click show advanced options because you're not over yet in terms of setting up your ads. What are you advertising for? For link clicks, impressions or reach? You must always ensure that you're advertising for link clicks. When it comes to bid amount, Facebook tries to play a trick on you. They've by default kept it as automatic, which means let Facebook set the price. Do not do that. Please go into manual and learn how to do manual bidding. Manual bidding is very important because the background is, okay, let's step back a minute and let's see how this entire marketplace for Facebook advertising works. This is a bidding platform. Let's assume that I'm talking to a job seeker and there are three other advertisers. One of them could be selling motorbikes, the other could be selling clothes, and then there's me. So there are three of us and we're talking to the same young job seeker. Now, how does Facebook decide whose ad to show to that particular young job seeker? It depends on how much the three of us are willing to bid in terms of the price we're willing to pay to put our ad in front of that person in his or her news feed. If you go ahead and select automatic, what Facebook will do is jack up your rate in terms of the rate that you're willing to pay and ensure that your ad does get seen by a person who's most likely to click your ad, but the cost per click will be very high, right? When you come to manual, the way I work is I look at what they are recommending. So they're recommending a range of 10 rupees to 21 rupees. Ignore the suggested bid because this is ridiculously high. I always start at 50% of their lowest range. So I would start at 5 rupees. 5 rupees is fine per link click. Okay. If you find that your ad is not showing, it's not going out, people are not clicking on it, then it means that your bid range is low. And after about a day or so, you can change your bid range. You can come back here and change it to, let's say, 7 rupees. And then maybe in a couple of days, if it starts working, if people start clicking it, then instead of inputting 14 rupees, which is the suggested bid, you're getting link clicks at 7 rupees. So I'd recommend that you always start by bidding 50% of the lowest value that they are recommending and watching your traffic, watching how your ad progresses. Are you getting is Facebook putting the ad out there in terms of reach? Are you getting link clicks? And if you are, then you don't need to raise your bid. But if you aren't, then you can raise it slowly over a period of time. When are you charged? Go to click more options. And once you've spent $400, you'll have the option of coming to link clicks and you must select link clicks. You want to be charged for link clicks rather than for impressions. Impressions means that you're charged every time Facebook shows it to a couple of thousand people. Now, since this is a brand new account, since this is, we have just set it up, I can't make that change, but I would come back here after I've spent $400 and select link click. Advert scheduling works only if you have lifetime ad budgets. We don't have a lifetime ad budget. We have a daily ad budget, but just ignore this. You don't need to worry about it. And in terms of delivery type, remain at standard. You don't need to worry about the other options. Once you click this, you will move from the advert set to creating an ad. So at any point of time, let's say you are here and you want to go back and you want to change your traffic, just come back here. Facebook keeps saving this in real time. So you don't have to worry about, where's the save button. It's continuously saving what you're doing. And let's go back to traffic. So there you are. You've gone back up here. You can make some changes that you want and you can then come back to placement. So as you scroll down, Facebook, keeps moving this down depending on where you are. You could also go back and change your objective at any point of time. And in this lesson, I'm not going to be covering adverts because that's a pretty large section in itself. But what I wanted to cover was the first part, which is, these are tactics, these are activities, but the strategy is all here. The strategy is in identifying what is the objective behind your marketing campaign. And as you start off with your campaign developments, please stick to only one, which is traffic. In a future lesson, I will be talking about how to create conversion campaigns, which is actually the gold standard, which you should migrate to as fast as possible. But traffic is the way to go. So start by creating a test account. It will ask you to link your credit card. Don't worry, that's perfectly fine. And then create a dummy traffic account and take it all the way through, but through creating an ad set, creating an advert. And then once you do that, you can see the various nuances of the Facebook advertising platform. Finally, just to wrap up, why do you have a campaign, an ad set and an advert? This is because Facebook gives you the option of testing. So under one campaign, let's say your objective is traffic and that is firmed up. You could have an ad set which could have 2 ads under it. You could have a campaign with 2 ad sets and each ad set has 2 ads under it. And the difference between the 2 ad sets could be, for example, the audience could be different. You could be targeting men in this vertical, which is, let's assume that you have created a campaign which has one objective of traffic, but from there it goes to one ad set which is targeting men and another ad set targeting women, but both of them show the same ad. And you can then split test and test how does your ad appeal to men versus women. You can target placements. So the reason you have an advert set or an ad set is you can test all of these parameters against other parameters by having one campaign and multiple ad sets under it. So that's it. I hope you liked this lesson on setting up your Facebook advertising campaign. These are the building blocks of setting up the entire campaign before you actually create the ad. Creating the ad is the exciting part of it. It's the creative part, but you can fall flat on your face if you haven't set up your ad campaign in advance.